Each was a species that had been declared extinct within the 21st century. However, each had also been seen alive at some point during the period of time between the 1st of January 2000 and the date of its extinction. These were species which, having lived and died in the last 2 decades, were undeniably of our time. 21st century extinctions. I immediately began researching the stories of these species. Soon, the spreadsheet the IUCN had sent me, whose Spartan columns listed for each species only the common name, scientific name, date of last sighting, and extinction date, came alive with detail. There was the little brown bat, so small it could easily fit in an egg cup, and the rat that lived on a tiny coral cay in the middle of the ocean. The slow, plodding footsteps of giant tortoises echoed through my mind as I stared for hours at photographs of beautiful but impossibly minute snails. I listened to the songs of long-lost birds over and over again, and in museum collections I gingerly held the first collected specimens of species in my hands. Speaking with the biologists, ecologists, and conservationists who had studied and tried to save these species, I learned of the extraordinary passion and ingenuity of the people attempting to hold back the rising tide of extinction. And gradually, over the next few years, this research became the book you are listening to today. By necessity, this account of extinction in the 21st century is far from complete. For every species that has been declared extinct by the IUCN, there are many more waiting to be assessed. This is partly because, when a species vanishes, the IUCN allows a grace period of several years before it is formally declared extinct to ensure it has really gone. It's also because, like almost all conservation bodies, the IUCN is severely under-resourced, especially considering its mammoth task. As a result, there is a long queue of vanished species waiting to be assessed, and those are just the species that we know about. There are an estimated 8.7 million plant, fungi, and animal species living on Earth. Of these, only around 2.1 million have been identified and described, according to the IUCN. This gaping blind spot in our scientific knowledge means that alongside the extinctions we do know of, there are likely many so-called dark extinctions occurring every year, when species vanish before we even know of their existence. For these reasons, the stories in this book can only offer us a snapshot of extinction. In fact, by the time I had finished writing, more extinctions had already been declared. The species described here are best viewed as representatives whose stories offer us a glimpse of a far broader process, each a stand-in for other extinctions that we will probably never know occurred. When I first received the list of recent extinctions from the IUCN, a detail about one species, the Christmas Island pipistrelle, drew my attention. The last individual of this species had vanished on my 23rd birthday. Tucked away in a box of things from my past, I had kept a memento from that date, a matchbox-sized cardboard music box given to me by a friend that, when wound, struck the melody of Happy Birthday. Memories from that day and that time in my life came flooding back to me. An extinction, a phenomenon that can feel so distant and divorced from our personal lives, suddenly felt much closer. The species featured in this book have lived and died within the lifetimes of most of the people who will listen to it. Some will recognize in these stories the dates of birthdays, weddings, or personal tragedies. For others, none of the dates will hold any immediate significance. However, almost all of us can look back over social media and emails and see what we were doing on the days these species left our world. A meeting, a photo, a mood, a like. Either way, it is my hope that these stories will fill all who hear them with a new sense of connectedness to these lost wonders, to the broader natural world and the unfolding extinction crisis. Tom Lathan, March 2024. Chapter 1. The Builder's Story. Plectostoma sciaphyllum, a Malaysian microsnail. Imagine you have shrunk to the size of a flea. Now, this book towers over you. Each line of text stretches ahead of you like a road. Welcome to the world of microsnails.